Good morning and welcome. Before we begin our service, let us take a moment to share in our stone ritual. I place a stone for our joys. One for our sorrows. And one for our intentions for the coming week.
The UUCT care team is ready to help. They can be contacted by email at care@uutampa.org or by calling 813-466-8292. And now to our service.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. I'm Joe Holtry, your worship associate for this morning's service. We welcome you and thank you for joining us in community. We'll light our chalice today to these words by Reverend Andrew Pakula. It's called Let There Be Light. Let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tired and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good.
All right, everybody, let's turn to the teal hymnal 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell the story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Hi, my name is Erin Powers, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. And today I have a story for you called The Little Purple Hen, and this is by a colleague, the Reverend Joanna Fontaine Crawford. The little purple hen found a sack of wheat seed and rushed to tell her friends. "Look at all this seed I found," said the little purple hen. "Let's see if it's still good," said Pig. He examined it under a microscope and saw that most of the seeds were fresh and ready to be used. "You'll want some of my special fertilizer for that," said Cow, and she hurried home to get some. "I love to plant," said Puppy, who was only 4 years old. "Can I help you with that?" And Puppy and Little Purple Hen planted all the seeds that Pig examined and found fresh and added fertilizer that the cow brought. Several weeks went by and the seeds began to grow. The Little Purple Hen planned on using Saturday to do her weeding. And when she got outside that morning, she was shocked. There were no weeds. "That must be some fertilizer," she said. And just then, Farmer Joe wandered by. "Farmer Joe, all of the weeds in my garden disappeared," said Little Purple Hen. Yep, they did," he laughed. "A cow and a pig and a puppy were over here yesterday, and they pulled them all up. Course, I'm kind of an expert on weeds, so I showed them what to pull up and what to leave." "Thank you," said Little Purple Hen. As the weeks went by, the sun ripened the wheat until it was ready to harvest. Little Purple Hen got up early Saturday morning and went down to her garden. There was Farmer Joe with his nice plow, and Cow, Pig, and Puppy, and someone else. "This is my friend Cat," said Pig. "We're here to help harvest." "Nice to meet you, Cat," said the Little Purple Hen. "Oh, I love a good harvest," purred Cat. As they worked together, harvesting the wheat, they discussed getting the wheat ground into flour. "You know, I have a brother-in-law who owns a granary," said Cat. She called him up and he said he'd be happy to let them use his grinding machine after hours. "I'll take you over there," said Farmer Joe. "Oh, we want to go with you," said the friends. So they all went over to the granary, and while the machine worked, they ate pizza. Cat's brother-in-law joined them and said, "You know, I have a friend that owns a bakery. He has big ovens. Maybe you could use them." "Wow," said Little Purple Hen. "I just planned on making 1 loaf of bread. But with all this grain we've harvested, and if we could use the big ovens, we could make many, many loaves." So a few days later, Little Purple Hen and Cow and Pig and Puppy and Farmer Joe and Cat's brother-in-law all met at the bakery of Cat's brother-in-law's friend, Horse. They mixed the dough and let it rise and baked it in the giant ovens. They kept doing this over and over. At the end of the day, they put the last loaves in the oven and counted all of the loaves cooling on the counters. "And with those in the ovens, we'll have 267 loaves," said Pig. They all looked at each other in amazement. "Well, "Of course we'll each take some of the bread," said Little Purple Hen. "But there's so much. What will we do with it all?" And Cow said, "I know of a homeless shelter that would love fresh bread." And Puppy said, "I know of a daycare program with kids that would love fresh bread." And Pig said, "I know of a giant food pantry with giant freezers so they can freeze a lot of bread to eat later." So they shared all the bread, and each took home several loaves, and felt very rich indeed, and very proud of themselves for all they had accomplished. And Little Purple Hen said, "Thank you." And with that, our story ends.
The UUCT Board of Trustees wants you to know about 2 important dates. Your participation is requested in a decision about transitional ministry. On May 31st, 2020, a congregational discussion on transitional ministry will be conducted at 12 p.m. by Zoom. On June 7th, 2020, a special congregational meeting is being called by the Board of Trustees to vote on how to proceed with transitional ministry. The meeting will be at 12 p.m. by Zoom. The Board of Trustees thanks you for your participation.
Today's meditation is called Religion, and it's by Vincent B. Silliman. Let religion be to us life and joy. Let it be a voice of renewing challenge. To the best we have and may be. Let it be a call to generous action. Let religion be to us a dissatisfaction with things that are, which bids us serve more eagerly the true and the right. Let it be a sorrow that opens for us the way of sympathy, understanding, and service to suffering humanity. Let religion be to us the wonder and lore of that which is only partly known and understood. An eye that glories in nature's majesty and beauty, and a heart that rejoices in deeds of kindness and courage. Let religion be to us security and serenity because of its truth and beauty, and because of the enduring worth and power of the loyalties which it engenders. Let it be to us hope and purpose, and a discovering of opportunities to express our best through daily tasks. Religion, uniting us with all that is admirable in human beings everywhere, holding before our eyes a prospect of the better life for humankind, which each may help to make actual.
Our next hymn is number 1009 in your teal hymnal. When I breathe in peace. I breathe in peace. I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
This week, we are joined by a guest minister, Reverend Bud Murphy. Reverend Richard Bud Murphy has worked as an ordained Roman Catholic priest and has master's degrees in divinity and marriage and family counseling. He completed coursework toward a master's in management. He became a member of the UU congregation in Ormond Beach, Florida in 1993. After losing his wife Helen to cancer in 2002, he began the process of becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. He served the UU Church of Ormond Beach until his retirement in 2012. Now retired, he remains active as a member of the UU Church of St. Petersburg, Florida, and serves as president of the Board of Unitarian Universalist Justice in Florida.
Good morning. I'm Bud Murphy, a retired minister currently serving as president of the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida. UUJF is a state action network. We strive to influence state legislation by tracking the legislative process, sharing information with our network, and encouraging members to develop a working relationship with their legislative representatives in the state Senate and the State House of Representatives. I hope you will find out more about our justice work by visiting our website at uujusticeflorida.org. In some Christian religions, the fifth Sunday after Easter is celebrated as Pentecost Sunday. It commemorates a time when, after Christ's crucifixion, the followers of Jesus were pretty much hiding out from those that had tortured and crucified their leader. At best, they were frightened and confused about what they were supposed to do going forward. We find ourselves in a similar situation today on a global scale. Many of us are frightened and confused about what we are supposed to do going forward. The dispirited followers of Jesus, so the narrative suggests, were visited by the Spirit appearing as tongues of fire. That inspiration gave them direction and purpose. Simply put, they saw their purpose to love God and their neighbor as themselves. We can debate who or what groups have remained faithful in carrying out the message to spread love, to be love, to treat every other human being as our neighbor. But that was the message embedded in the life of Jesus. That was the message carried forth from that moment of inspiration. Our situation is the same. We wait for inspiration. We hope for a future when humanity is moved to love unconditionally. Speaking of messages, I understand a virus carries genetic code as a message. A single strand of ribonucleic acid, or RNA, is hijacks the resources of a living cell and replicates that message until the cell collapses and exudes the newly replicated RNA virus. In more complex living organism, deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, and RNA are the main constituents of chromosomes, serving a similar function by carrying a message of what the organism will become. Genetic information is a message of possibility. Viruses spread influenced by global transportation systems, comorbidities, and environmental factors such as overcrowding, poor nutrition, pollution, and climate change. Viruses are also impacted by changes, mutations in that message. Humans carry their message in their genetic code, but in a more dynamic form, we carry messages of possibility in our neurons and share that message in our communication. In addition, we have the potential of observing what is going on around us, of assessing reality and what we will do about it. Someone said the following about their growing up years. I was brought up believing that only one collection of writings from one area of the world held the only truth about our connection with God. I was warned that to believe anything other than the words in those documents, which were established by religious and political powers, was to risk eternal separation and damnation from my Creator. And so I lived most of my life in fear of even listening to any other teachings regarding spiritual truths, calling them lies when I had never even looked into them. Eventually, I began to challenge what I had been taught, and I began to question what the powers that be, that is church and family, had told me I must believe in order to stave off eternal death. Needless to say, I expanded my point of view, and I have since come to a much wider understanding and experience of spiritual truths. You see what I'm getting at? This example is not only true for matters of spirit, but for matters of science, politics, and life in general. I believe only one narrative, do believe only one narrative at the exclusion of all others, cuts us off from knowledge and understanding. It neither expands understanding nor secures it. That isn't to say that the original narratives don't hold truth. It is to say that they don't hold all truth, and they are rarely, if ever, all true. The role of discernment and reverently holding each other accountable becomes more important as each of us strives to detect the pull of the universe as we remain grounded in reality and decide what we shall do going forward. Personally, my grandfather, Frederick Marsden, died in the pandemic that began in 1918. Fortunately, after he had married my grandmother, Emma Drillard, and had fathered my mother, Mary Emma Marsden. My mother was 3 when she contracted the virus and survived to have 5 children. What follows has been attributed to Kathleen O'Mara, as written in 1869. Authorship or publishing date aside, do these words mean anything to you? And people stayed home and read books and listened, and they rested and they did exercises and made art and played and learned new ways of being and stopped and listened more deeply. Some meditated, someone prayed, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently, and people healed. And in the absence of people who lived in ignorant ways, dangerous, meaningless, and heartless, the earth also began to heal. The earth has begun to heal. And when the danger ended, the people found themselves, they grieved for the dead, and they made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they were healed. Now, this passage was claimed to have been reprinted during Spanish flu pandemic in 1919, with a final line suggesting our ancestors survived that, and we will survive this. Truth or fiction, we have a unique opportunity to change the way the system is weighted. Let's create a picture of the future where everyone has enough, and we can explore our dreams of consensual, even convivial technology-enabled almost utopia. Reverend Naomi King recently prayed, "Beloved, though I am one, may I remember I am also part of many, and alone or together we can bear more peace, justice, and well-being into this world." We cannot carry the message of love forward through time without cultivating more unconditional love. Practice self-love. Fall deeply in love with yourself so you will know how to love your neighbor. Nurture yourself. Meet your basic needs as best you can. Maintain a regular mindfulness or meditation practice as part of discernment. Let go of negative thoughts. Avoid the use of words every, never, always, should, lazy, crazy, silly, stupid, bad, and ugly. Allow other people's experience to resonate with you. Surround yourself with those who are upbeat and loving. Send love to difficult people in your life. Counter the tendency to deprive yourself of physical, emotional, and intellectual recognition. We may tell ourselves that it's not okay to let in recognition. Instead, hear the positive statement. Say thank you, inhale, and say to yourself, furthermore, I'm good at this or that. Instead of not giving recognition, say what you feel when others are praiseworthy. Rather than ask for an evaluation by saying, "How was this?" If you want a positive comment, consider asking, "Will you tell me something you like about some action you've done or some quality you possess?" It's okay to give yourself recognition. When others say that you are lazy, crazy, silly, stupid, bad, or ugly, it's okay to reject that negative recognition. The writings of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin inspire me, and he wrote the following: seeing. One could say that the whole of life lies in seeing, if not ultimately, at least essentially. To be is to be more united, and this sums up and is the very conclusion of the work to follow. But unity grows, and we will affirm this again only if it is supported by an increase of consciousness, of vision. That is probably why the history of the living world can be reduced to the elaboration of ever more perfect eyes at the heart of a cosmos, where it is always possible to discern more. Are not perfection of an animal and the supremacy of the thinking being measured by the penetration and the power of synthesis of their glance? To try to see more and to see better is not therefore just a fantasy, curiosity, or luxury. See or perish. This is the situation imposed on every element of the universe by the mysterious gift of existence, and thus, to a higher degree, this is the human condition, to grasp ever more clearly what is so. The day will come after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, when we shall harness for God the energies of love, and on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, we shall have discovered fire. The day will come, the phrase "sense of the earth" shall be understood to mean the passionate concern for our common destiny, which draws the thinking part of life ever forward. In principle, there is no feeling which has a firm foundation in nature or greater power. But in fact, there is also no feeling which awakens so belatedly, since it can come and become explicit only when our consciousness has expanded beyond the broadening, but still far too restricted circles of family, country, and race, and has finally discovered that the only truly natural and real human unity is the spirit of the earth. Human energy presents itself to our view as the term, the final, of a vast process in which the whole mass of the universe is involved. In us, the evolution of the world towards the spirit becomes conscious. Let me say that again. In us, the evolution of the world towards the spirit becomes conscious. From that moment, our perfection, our interest, our salvation as elements of creation can only be to press on with this evolution with all our strength. We cannot yet understand exactly where it will lead us, but it would be absurd for us to doubt that it will lead us towards some end of supreme value. From this, there finally emerges in our 20th century human consciousness, for the first time since the awakening of life on earth, the fundamental problem of action. No longer, as in the past, for our small selves, for our small family, our small country, but for the salvation and the success of the universe. How must we, modern men, organize around us for the best, the maintenance, distribution, and progress of human energy? Science, in all probability, will increasingly be impregnated by mysticism. It seems we are reliving, after 1,500 years, the great conflicts of Arianism, with the big difference that we are now concerned with defining the relationship not between Christ and the Trinity, but between Christ and a universe that has suddenly become fantastically large, formidably organic, and more than probably polyhuman, thinking perhaps of millions of planets. And if I may express myself brutally but expressively, I see no valid or constructive way out of our situation except by making a subdistinction in the human nature of Christ between a terrestrial nature and a cosmic nature. It has sometimes seemed to me that there are three weak stones sitting dangerously in the foundations of the modern church. First, a government that excludes democracy. Second, a priesthood that excludes and minimizes women. Third, a revelation that excludes for the future prophecy. The future is more beautiful than all the past. Jane Goodall has this to say about Chardin. There are only two ways, it seems to me, in which we can think about our existence here on earth. We either agree with Macbeth that life is nothing more than a tale told by idiots, a purposeless emergence of life forms, including the clever and greedy, selfish and unfortunate species we call Homo sapiens, the evolutionary goof, or we believe that, as Pierre Teilhard de Chardin put it, there is something afoot in the universe, something that looks like gestation and birth. In other words, a plan and a purpose to it all. I may be convinced, while I could theoretically be a better person or more consistently a better person, but I'm trapped in habitual ways of being and acting that become entangled in complementary habits of our own. No one has the right to force us to change. We can be grateful when we find someone willing to grapple with personal change that inevitably shows up. The constant in life is change. Stability often requires increasing resources to be maintained. Ultimately, there is a discontinuity, departure, or death. You have to spend the rest of your life. Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. That's Rachel Carson speaking. I'm pondering, as she continues, one of nature's most intriguing mysteries. Why so much so beautiful? Why is so much so beautiful? Why all those luscious colors, gossamer wings, silken petals? Why rainbow-decked waterfalls cascading into deep, curving rivers, disappearing into the folds of magnificent mountains? Cool forests of feathery ferns at the base of towering trees, full of the elation of bird song? Why rustling waves of grasslands filled with flowers, chirping crickets, soaring meadowlarks? Deserts lit with luminous cactus flowers, the call of the raven, the song of coyotes? Why clouds on fire with the setting sun? The easy answer is that we evolved the senses and the consciousness to find all of this beautiful. And so we did. But why? We could have evolved to find a much duller world. Bees and hummingbirds could have evolved to pollinate a planet full of white flowers. Butterflies and birds don't need their luminous jewel tones to fly or find food. Peacocks and prairie chickens could have figured out calmer ways to attract a mate. It's the sheer extravagance of it all that makes it so mysterious. Douglas Iris of Ring Mountain in Tuberon, California, said these words: "Beauty is an aspect of the universal power that cosmologist Brian Swim calls allurement. It is one of the early powers to show up as the great attracting energy of gravity swirled the universe, newborn atoms together to form the first stars. Then the stars themselves felt the pull to one another as they formed the gravitational fields we know as galaxies. Between the stars, matter gathered into planets, then into moons around the planets, all in turn both being drawn and entering Brian says, into their destiny as a source of allurement. Allurement not only creates, but creates a mode that continues to create. Within these forms, relationships develop. Intimacy leads to more creativity. The Earth's long relationship with the sun eventually gives rise to life. Plants emerge. Then this amazing moment comes when living beings figure out how to create the chlorophyll molecule in resonance with the sun's light. By creating this strikingly complex and beautiful molecule, plants bound themselves and the entire earth in an ever more intimate relationship with the sun. This cycle of attraction, form, creativity, intimacy has given us an earth of inexpressible beauty. Imagine walking through a field of wildflowers, or peering through a microscope at the structure of a seashell, or discovering the intricate mathematical language that governs the universe. Our whole being responds to the power of beauty in such moments. Our hearts expand, our energy rises. We feel alive, connected, excited. We are transported, from the Latin word meaning carried across, lifted over a threshold into a realm beyond the concerns, demands, confusions of daily life. In another writing, I have written before about the psychologist Nicholas Humphrey's theory that evolution favored awe. In the face of the many challenges of existence, awe gives us reasons to love life. To him, evolution wanted us to be here long enough to reproduce, and that is certainly high on nature's agenda. But beauty preceded us by eons. I prefer Carl Sagan and Tom Berry's idea that the cosmos wanted a way to ponder all the beauty it had created, and so it evolved us. It may well be having the universe may well be having second thoughts as I write this. The Amazon rainforest is burning so that we can grow soybeans to feed pigs, or clear space for ranchers to provide beef for fast food hamburgers. It's being opened to drill for oil to fuel our insatiable appetites for every conceivable consumer item. How surrounded by so much beauty and sublimity have we managed a history of so much cruelty, neglect, and obliviousness? That is another mystery. Our souls long for the beauty that they have evolved to know so intimately. And yet our minds, our actions are so easily turned to the ugly. We trash our living spaces. We fail to nourish and protect our children. We go to war over land and resources. We cage families fleeing danger of our policies those policies have created. We burn the lungs of our planet. Devastation. Is there space for contemplating beauty? The power of allurement says yes, we must. This power draws us out of ourselves, brings us to life, and again and again. It strengthens us to carry the weight of disappointment, grief, rage, and move towards regeneration. This isn't beauty as a surface attractant. The ultimate beauty of flowers doesn't lie in how pretty they are. That, of course, is a lovely thing to contemplate. But they have lived for 160 million years before we arrive to take delight in them. The great power lies in what the universe wanted of them, not in what we want. These are cosmic beings forged out of chaos, molecule by molecule. The soul of the earth emerging from the soil at our feet, formed for relationships and adept at creating them with that soil, with the air they breathe and the sunlight they turn to nutrition, with the creatures, including us, that they form intimate, mutually beneficial relationships with. Allurement is all about relationships. This deeper beauty draws our depths to itself, into the bonds of intimacy and love. We are devastated by the news because profound relationships are being severed day after day. The industrial society has moved to break allurement apart, most profoundly to break the natural allurement people have for the rest of the universe. The field of allurement we are born into is fractured by the view of the natural world, including humans, as strictly a resource for plundering. This person continues, because I spend a fair amount of time thinking about things that have been happening for epochs, part of me is able to take the long view. For millions of its early years, all that happened to our fiery volcanic Earth was a continual meteor bombardment. Out of that disorder, the delicate petals of flowers eventually arose. All the beauty we know has risen from the journey of disorder to order, a journey often interrupted by fresh breaks of chaos. The last 200 years of industrial mindset isn't even a blip on this time scale, but it is cataclysmic, and our hearts ache continually with the suffering we see. He continues, I am exploring Brian's Powers of the Universe to see what nature, our oldest teacher, tells us about creating a just and sustainable planet. Allurement's profound lesson lies in the deep creative energy it launches. As we move toward what we are attracted to, we are changed. The relationships formed with a person, a mountain, a river, a cause, attract further changes. This is how the universe works. We're captivated and we pursue, and then we are awakened in the pursuit, and we end up captivating others. The intensity of the relationship deepens as the actual form of who we are is shaped by what draws us. Let me conclude with the words of Derek Jackson, Director of Ministries for Lifelong Learning of the UUMA, as he wrote an article, Finding Space to Breathe, and finished with this prayer. Chaotic spirit that defies understanding, why have you put us through this? This is hard. It asks so much of us. We're tired. Please, can we be done? Help us survive another year. Help us move out of crisis mode. Help us find the opportunity within this moment. Help us find moments of renewal. Breathing in, breathing out. We pray for strength and endurance. We pray for spiritual fortitude. We pray for survival. Blessed be. Thank you.
To support the UUCT with your generous financial gifts, please go to the UUCT website and click on the Click Here link to donate. It will take you to our donation page, and you can securely make your donation to the church. Thank you.
We'll extinguish our chalice to these words by Reverend Joseph M. Cherry. My prayer for you today is that you understand that you cannot be and say everything, that you are a light, a lamp in the night to help people find their way, but you cannot be their way. Remember also that a steady lamp by which others may guide their own journey is a gift from and to the universe. Be steady, but do not deny your own humanity. Do not forget to take breaks. Do not let your desire to be that steward of that lamp keep you too long from your own journey. Share the burden, share the responsibility, and share the honor with others.
Now, everybody, we're going to sing number 95 in our hymnals, There's More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. And there is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on until I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to the time when we can be in each other's presence again. Until then, be strong, be well, be true, and be loving.